So you asked about in terms of physical activity. So what the current recommendations are is that as adults, we should be doing at least 30 minutes 5 times a week. And for people under the age of 16, you want to be doing at least an hour a day. I appreciate in the current environment, that is a little bit difficult. We can't do our normal going to the gym or going out for cycling as we would normally. So what we try and do, I mean, at least the government has allowed people out for at least once a day for to be able to do their exercise. So if you're normally used to doing regular exercise like a run, then there's no reason why you can't continue doing that. And the main purpose is you're trying to maintain your fitness as much as possible. If you're not able to get out, then there's no reason why, even within the house, that you can do some sort of physical activity. Now, the kind of physical activity, it depends and varies from people to people. As you mentioned, there's lots of online videos and YouTube uh, which people can watch. And so it's any activity which makes you either warm, short of breath, and increases your heart rate. So even jogging up and down on the spot, doing squats, walking up and down stairs, all those things will count as part of your either 30 minutes or 1 hour a day. So it's just a case of trying to be creative, trying to mix it up, and just trying to get up and get moving, really. And just enough activity, as I said, to keep you warm, short of breath, and increase your heart rate.
Okay. And in terms of everybody's physical activity routines, do you think these need to be adapted during Ramadan? So doing physical activity within specific time frames?
Yes. So when I work with athletes, which is obviously the other extreme to most of us, so the difficulty they have is being able to hydrate and being able to take on food either before doing the activity or afterwards to try and get in their recovery shakes. So what the times that I normally recommend for people to do their activity during Ramadan is either just before opening their fast. And the advantage of that is that they can do 15-20 minutes of activity, and then immediately afterwards they can open their fast and they can hydrate themselves and also take on some food to actually replace some of the energy. Or they can wait a couple of hours. So if they open their fast at sunrise, wait at sunset, wait a couple of hours, and then do some activity. And the advantage of that is they'll have got some food on board, they'll have got a little bit more energy, and also they'll be a little bit more hydrated. And immediately after the activity, then they can take on further fluid and a recovery drink if required.
Okay, fantastic. And Melissa, how important is it for children to see family members exercising?
I think role modeling is one of the things we always recommend to families. So whether you're trying to get your kids to eat vegetables or whether you're trying to get them to exercise or eat a healthy diet, being a good role model as an adult is really, really important. And we've got an unprecedented opportunity here to exercise together as a family. Usually we're all running in separate directions, but at this point in time, a lot of us are at home together. So you can do those YouTube videos together as a family. You can go out for walks or cycles as family once a day. So there's a real opportunity for children and parents to get active together, which is great.
Okay. And some of the families, I'm quite lucky to have worked with Melissa, but some of the families we've worked with previously have discussed experienced constipation during Ramadan. What causes constipation and how do you avoid it?
So when we talk about constipation with families, we talk about the 3 Fs. So fluid, fiber, and fitness. And so the ways to avoid constipation would be things like making sure you're getting enough fluid. And that's really making sure you're having a lot of water during the times when you're not fasting, and fluid-rich foods. Also, obviously reducing your salt, making sure you're having lots of whole grains, fruits and vegetables, high fiber foods. And then, as we discussed, just going for those walks and getting your body moving, gets your bowels moving and gets everything moving. And I think that'll really help.
Okay, there's been a question that's just come through. Somebody says that they've picked up a really terrible addiction to chocolate and chocolate biscuits while they've been stuck at home in isolation. Guilty. How do I wean myself off? It's really hard not to give in to cravings after dinner. Side note, when I'm not eating chocolate, I'm replacing these chocolate cravings with cheese.
Did you want me to address that one, Beth?
Yeah, definitely. If anybody else wants to chip in, it's a quite a long question, sorry.
I mean, I would just say, don't get too anxious about it. Obviously, you're not the only one that might be not eating as they're normally eating during this time. It is unprecedented, like I said, and a lot of people are eating things for comfort instead of necessarily hunger. I would say, obviously, trying to, for one thing, avoid triggers. So keeping those sort of foods out of the house, or at least out of sight, so you're not always going to them. And then trying to find healthy replacements. So if you are actually hungry, having, fruit, which is also going to give you a bit of a sugar hit, but not with all the extra, with extra nutrients instead.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, so Dr. Kawther, just like physical activity, what we eat is highly important as well in terms of maintaining a healthy lifestyle. And with more people at home spending more time cooking and trying new foods, we talk about having a balanced diet. What is a balanced diet?
Right, so a balanced diet, and you need to have all the main components. So here we're talking about fiber, and you'll get that mainly from carbohydrates. So we need to have a good, decent amount of carbohydrates in our diet. And we're looking at those that are, whole grain, those that are brown, so like brown rice, and particularly during Ramadan, we're going to be having quite large amounts of carbohydrates. What I would say is you need to make them as nutrient dense as possible. So instead of just having the carbohydrates, we need to have them with a lot of vegetables. If you're having curries, to have maybe more of the curry, because there's more fluids in that, there's more vegetables in that. If you're having it with meat or with beans, then it's more a good source of protein in that too, and less of the carbohydrates. But if you do, and that's because I know people tend to eat really fast when they're breaking for their fast. Eat really fast, get quite bloated, and feel really uncomfortable. So I think one of my main recommendations, you need to not just have the balanced diet, but also to pace yourself, to have these foods gradually. So it tends to be, for some families, they might have, for example, dates, soup, some water, then go and pray, have a bit of a break, and then go to have their main course. And I think that's really ideal to pace yourself, and not to go straight for having, your 3 courses. So yeah.
I think that answers the question that an attendee has put forward as well.